Hello, everybody, and welcome back to TrustBIX's YouTube channel. We have another special interview for you guys today. Now, we've talked to Hugh, we've talked to Lee. Today, we're sitting here with Vice Chairman and Corporate Secretary Ted Power. Ted, how are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for asking, Michael.
Glad to have you on. So first and foremost, can you let people know about your past experience? What really makes you tick as a businessman and entrepreneur?
Great question. I've always been involved with business. I always say there are two types of people in the world. There are people who write their name on the back of checks, and there are people who write their name on the front of checks. And if you write your name on the front of checks, then you're paying people. If you write your name on the back of checks, you're an employee for someone. So I've always wanted to write my name on the front of checks and have been doing so since my early 20s. Been involved with a number of different businesses from real estate. Really was my first significant operation, then went into a Lotto Canada, became the most successful Lotto Canada wholesaler in Canada. And I had a property management company that I sold in the mid-90s. And it was what you try to do a good job for people. And I never had anybody as a tenant ever phone me up and say, I'm really happy with my next door neighbor. The fridge works great. I love my carpet.
Fair.
You know, there's always a complaint. So I sold that company in the mid-90s and got into the software business. And I have a software company called Trace Applications that's involved in tracking quality assurance documents for companies who manufacture, distribute, and fabricate with high-grade steel and alloy products. And with regard to traceability, I understand traceability so well that I actually own the trademark for the word traceability in Canada.
Wow.
And did that in the late 1990s. People didn't understand traceability at that time. And I grew that business significantly and then was approached by somebody who was a backer of a company called ViewTrack, which was in the business of tracking or traceability with regard to cattle. And the company was in the ditch financially. So he asked me if I could get it out of the ditch. And I said, let me speak to my business partner, Hubert Lau, who you've already spoken to. And he said, Ted, we don't know anything about cattle. And I said, yeah, the only thing we know about is how to eat them. But what they want to do is track them, and we can track them. And so that's how we took over the company. And we took it from insolvency. It was actually in bankruptcy court the day we took it over. And we took it from insolvency to cash flow positive in about 90 days. And one of the things that I always say about business is show them how much you care before you show them how much you know. So what I mean by that is show your clients, show your customers, show the people that you're dealing with that you really want to do the best thing for them. One of the other things that we have on our wall is for us to do things so well that people will want to see you do them again. And that creates recurring business. And so we took over the ViewTrack company, and we have probably 85% of the auctions in Canada that use our software, the ViewTrack software, to track their animals, to process their animals. And about probably 30% in the US. We also have a feedlot software that we use for processing animals in the feedlots to feed them and keep track of them and do their billings. And then it came about that we were approached by the Canadian Cattlemen's Association to take over their BIX software, their business information system software. And so we did that, Hubert and I, with ViewTrack, and we created the company called TrustBIX, which we then took public, which is really an amalgamation of ViewTrack and the Canadian Cattlemen's Association software. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it definitely answers my question. You know, it's interesting the way you described it. It sounds like one of the most interesting things about entrepreneurial people, right, is that you kind of put a cutting edge toe out there into the world and try to see what's coming next. And I would say with you patenting the term traceability in Canada, one, and getting involved with software in the 90s and such, you were there. You were looking at where things were going. Would you say it really came to fruition? Is this what you expected to happen back then?
No.
No. Would you say it's better than you thought it would turn out?
Probably. When you start to go into something, you're never sure how it's going to actually end up. And what you you start with a plan, a dream, a whatever it is you want to call it, and you build on that, and you have other people believe in your ideas, and then if you're successful, you're successful. If you're not, you got to do something else, or you have to change what you're doing. The term now is pivot. I don't know what it is, but you have to adapt to conditions.
Yeah.
And when there was a problem with the mad cow disease, or BSE in Alberta, and Canada's exports of beef were stopped around the world, it required everybody in the agriculture, or certainly in the beef business, to pivot from what they were doing.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, we had most of the information in ViewTrack with regard to how we were tracking animals and what we were doing with them. So there was another BSE outbreak a couple of years after that one that first occurred. And you probably don't know about it, and most people don't know about it, because it was sort of, it came, it went, we took care of it. I got a call from the head veterinarian in Canada, and I said we were able to identify exactly where the problem was, which farm these animals were at, and it was stopped before the ink was dry on the newspapers. So by having access to the information, by being able to compile the information with regard to animals, we were able to completely eliminate the problem in the agricultural business, in the cattle business, that occurred a few years before, which was devastating. People couldn't sell their animals.
It was a really, really scary time. I remember that was kind of a thought on people's mind, and almost everyday part of conversation. If someone was eating beef and be like, hey, you heard about this thing, and so on. So it's interesting that you guys were able to pivot and understand and adapt to that in the industry so quickly. And you saved some lives in that matter, I would imagine, as well.
Probably.
Care of it rather early.
And I always wondered the thing about the mad cows, like, why were they mad? Why couldn't they just pat them on the head and say,
chill out,
Bessie,
man.
you're good.
Yeah, eat some grass. Fair enough. But all right, Ted. So then I guess now looking at your role in the company, walk us through somewhat like of a day of things you handle.
Well, I'm not as involved as I was in active operations. I was president of the company. I've stepped back, more of an advisory role. I'm 68 years old now, and I'm wanting to let the active operations be taken care of by, actually, you've spoken to Lee Irvin, who is general manager, and he does a great job of doing what I used to do, and he brings youth and enthusiasm, and I'm really, really proud to have him taking over my general roles. So as I say, I've stepped back a bit, and I'm on an advisory position now, or advisory role with the board of directors.
Wonderful, wonderful. So then I guess last but not least, we're now somehow into the third month of 2022. It just goes faster and faster every year. How do you feel the rest of the year is going to play out for you guys?
Really, really well. We just made two major announcements that were published with the stock exchange with our company TrustBIX, and one is that we have a new contract with Cargill, and so I could talk about that, and it's really building on what we had done with them for the last 3 years, and they're very excited about moving forward with regard to our traceability software, our TrustBIX software, and we've just purchased a company that we've announced today, where we're going to be tracking agricultural equipment with a software product and a software and hardware product. So track the combines and things of that nature. And we have some really good relationships with, as a result of buying this company, with some implement dealers around Canada. And there's there's some other things I'd like to tell you about that are really exciting, but they're not public knowledge, so I can't do it.
You got to stay zipped on those for now. But everybody, if you guys stay tuned, we'll get you that information as soon as it does go public. So don't you worry. And Ted, I feel like you did a great job of explaining how you got involved, your motivations as a businessman, and what you do on the day to day now. So thank you so much for coming on. If anyone has any questions for Ted or anyone else on the team for that matter, don't be afraid to send them over to us and we'll happily answer them. But for now, Ted, do you have any closing words for people?
No, I just want to say thank you very much, Michael. I know what you're doing and I know how you're helping us. And we are very, very grateful to have you working with us. So thank you.
Wonderful, Ted. Well, it was great talking to you. Look forward to chatting with you again. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Stay tuned for more coming soon. And Ted, have a wonderful day.
You too, Michael. Bye-bye.